Hey guys, I told you I would be right back. You can actually see some of the books that I just went over. So let's get cracking on the rest of them because there's a lot to do. So I did get the first two volumes of the Morganville Vampires series by Rachel Caine. This is volume 1, which includes Glass Houses and The Dead Girls Dance. And then volume 2, which has Midnight Alley and Feast of Fools. I'm always looking for a new vampire story. I'm trying to challenge myself to not read so much YA. I think it was Katie over at Chapter Stacks was talking about how she wanted to read less YA. I'm getting closer and closer to 30 every single day. I will actually be 27 in May, so I'm actually a lot closer to 30 than I am to, 16 and 17, stuff like that. So I am trying to read more adult books, and I feel like the themes of adult books are actually more of what I'm going through at this particular stage of my life. Don't get me wrong, I will always read a good YA book. If I see a good one, I'll pick it up. But I really do want to branch out and read more adult-like books. That being said, here's another YA. This is Bliss by Lauren Miracle. With its stately, ivy-covered buildings, Crestview Academy seems impossibly grand to newcomer Bliss, but full of promise, too. It's here she hopes to make the sort of friends she lacked growing up as the lone child on a commune. Then, behind the happy chatter of her new classmates, Bliss hears the voice, a ghostly whisper about a long-ago murder. There is something lingering in the stones of Crestview, something hungry for power and more, and it is trusting, sensitive Bliss who will unwittingly give it what it wants most. Blood sacrifice. Ba, ba, ba. I just thought that sounded really cool. I do have a couple more Philippa Gregory's, because she's one of my favorite authors. I did get Meriden and Earthly Joys, which are part of two separate series. This is part of the Whiteacre trilogy, and I think, is this one? What is this one part of? I don't know what Earthly Joys is a part of, but I think it's also a part of a series. I'm not 100% sure. I don't actually see if it's a part of the trilogy. Oh, there is a sequel called Virgin Earth, so that's pretty cool. But I think this is a part of the trilogy, but I don't know what the trilogy's name is. But Meriden is actually part of the Whiteacre trilogy. I actually believe it's the conclusion to the trilogy, which is really funny because I don't have any of the other books. Working on it. I also got Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. And, or is it Gabaldon? Anyways, I do have this in Kindle format, but I actually found it in paperback, and it was like it's $1. It's $1. How could I pass up $1? I couldn't, so I got it. I also got Peter Straub, Shadowland. It's his, yeah, the ultimate masterpiece of modern horror, Shadowland. That's what it's called. The first thing that kind of caught me was the cover. I just think that's really cool. Then it says, "You have been there if you have ever been afraid. Come back to a dark house deep in the Vermont woods where two friends are spending a season of horror, apprenticed to a master magician. Learning secrets best left unlearned, entering a world of incalculable evil more ancient than death itself, more terrifying, and more real. Only one of them will make it through." And then, of course, Stephen King said, "I thought it was creepy from page 1. I loved it." Well, Stevie, you love it. I'm sure I love it. I will love it too. And then I got Guinevere, Queen of the Summer Country by Rosalind Miles. I kind of love any of those stories. Yeah. So, think any of those are pretty cool. I love the stories of King Arthur and Guinevere, Lancelot, Gawain, any of them. What's really funny, though, is I think I actually have a book that she has put together. I actually want to say that there may have been a dual copy of 2 of her books, and I think I might have it. I'm not 100% sure. I'll have to double check. So I went on Book Outlet, and I did get Downton Abbey, Rules for Household Staff, because I love Downton Abbey. Who doesn't? And this, which I think is really funny, it actually says in here, the foreword is by Charles Carson, which I think is really cool. But it goes over like all the different household chores and what you would actually do according to your station. I think that's pretty fun. I also got My Notorious Life by Kate Manning. Meet the incomparable Axie Muldoon, the fiery daughter of impoverished Irish immigrants in 1860s New York City. Axie grows up to become one of the wealthiest and most controversial women of her day. In vivid prose, she recounts how she is forcibly separated from her mother and siblings and sent west on an orphan train. Determined to reunite her family, she makes her way back to New York, where she's apprenticed to a doctor, falls for the irresistible Charlie Jones, and develops a thriving midwifery practice, flouting convention and defying the law in order to help many desperate women. Styling herself as Madame de Beausacq, I don't know, a female physician, she rises from tenement rooms to the splendor of a mansion on Fifth Avenue. When her medical services attract outraged headlines, Axie finds herself on a collision course with the founder of the Society for the Suppression of Vice. Bum, bum, bum. It will take all of her power to outwit him in the fight to preserve her freedom and everything she holds dear. Inspired by the true history of an infamous midwife who was once called the wickedest woman in New York, My Notorious Life is an unforgettable tale, the story of a charismatic and passionate woman who changed the lives of countless others. I don't know why I can't speak. I'm having a case of a Mondays on a Thursday. But I thought the cover was pretty cool, and I love those kind of let's go women stories. I also have a novel of the Titanic and the Californian, The Midnight Watch by David Dyer. This one says, in The Midnight Watch, debut novelist and Titanic expert David Dyer reimagines one of the most wrenching human disasters of the 20th century. As the Titanic sank slowly into the frigid North Atlantic Ocean after striking an iceberg late in the evening of April 14, 1912, the steamer Californian was nearby, carefully watching. The desperate crew of the doomed liner signaled with Morse lamp and the new Marconi telegraph, and finally with 8 distress rockets fired into the night sky. The men of the midnight watch on the Californian saw those rockets and reported them to the captain, but the ship did not respond. By morning, the Titanic lay at the bottom of the sea, and more than 1,500 passengers and crew were dead. When the story of the disaster begins to emerge, Boston American reporter John Stedman becomes intrigued by curious inconsistencies in the formal statements of the Californian's captain and suspects another, larger story lurks behind his words. Haunted by the 1,500 who die in the Atlantic's icy waters and driven by the loss of his own infant son years earlier, Stedman must either find the truth of what happened that night or lose himself. Told not only from the perspective of Stedman and the men of the Californian, but also through the eyes of a third-class Titanic family as they struggle to survive, The Midnight Watch is a dramatic, deeply knowing novel about the frailty of men, the strength of women, the price of loyalty, and the vagaries of fate. And I love the Titanic. I love the story of the Titanic. And I actually thought it was very interesting David Dyer, the author of this story, spent many years as a lawyer at the London legal practice whose parent firm represented the Titanic's owners in 1912. So I am sure that he could get his hands on a whole bunch of fact and sorry, you can't see my shorts, but I promise I'm wearing yoga shorts right now. A whole bunch of facts and papers, and I'm sure that this would, even though it's fictional in that it's told from someone else's perspective, that there is a lot of factual information here, and that he has done this story a great service. So, I hate to say it, but we're going to have to do a part 3, because I have a lot more books sitting here. I'm sorry to have to do it. My camera will only do so many bursts. I'm working on getting a new camera so I can record longer videos for you. But I will see you guys in a part 3. See you in a sec.